Okay, so just hear me out. I don't hate the Switch 2. I mean, just take a look at this. Oh my god, it looks so cute. Oh, that's so cool. Oh my god, it's DS Download Play. However, this does not mean that the Switch 2 Direct was perfect. There are some things about Nintendo Switch 2 that leave some concerns. There were not a lot of first-party titles. What was shown off is very exciting. A 3D Donkey Kong game after the last one practically killed the whole 3D platformer genre. A game about Zelda's trip to the past and Tears of the Kingdom. Sakurai returning to direct Kirby Air Riders. These are all amazing. However, are we really sure that any of these are system sellers? I mean, to have Mario Kart bundled at a discount seems like a no-brainer, but are people really going to buy Switch 2 just for Mario Kart? I understand that there is a push to entice people to play these other IPs, but remember the Switch 1? God, that is so unnatural to say. How Breath of the Wild was such an anticipated game that it broke grounds in the open world genre. I knew people who were not Zelda fans that wanted to play this. Does Donkey Kong really pull that same effect? I don't care how sexy the Kong is! I just know where Breath of the Wild got me into the Zelda series, I don't see Bonanza luring me into the Donkey Kong series in the same way. It does look like a fun game, but it's something that I don't feel is very enticing. Nintendo has announced Switch 2 upgrades for the previous Zelda games, but like, I don't know, we've already played these games before. I rarely go back to Breath of the Wild, and while the new improvements will make the experience really pretty, I mean, just look at that grass. Ooh. I'm not sure if the improved performance for me personally will make me want to play through both games again. These upgrades are something that I really wanted, but I've got my eyes set on the future. I'm glad it's available at launch, but I find it funny that one of their biggest games at day one is somehow still Breath of the Wild. A game that is coming close to being 10 years old. Oh, but there's gonna be extra content that will be added to both games in the form of new memories from Zelda that you can only listen to through their stupid app. I asked for this? Nope, can't seem to find it, but I did find my will to buy digital games in here. Nintendo Switch 2 is digital media done right. But I feel like the digital game cart upgrade is something that should have been done 5 years ago. Treating digital games like they're physical and allowing for short-term lending and such. This essentially makes the digital games pretty much equivalent to physical games. And if it wasn't apparent enough that they want to push you towards digital games, you really want to show something that ugly on your shelf? But hey, some games aren't even going to be games. They'll be cartridges allowing you to download the game by using digital keys, but how much you want to bet they'll still act like cartridges, not allowing you to play the game without it inserted? At that point, just buy it digitally. Wait, that's the f***ing point! I am by no means anti-digital gaming. I just am proud to show off the games that I do physically own. I rarely take my Switch out for a walk, so I don't mind having physical carts to use in the comfort of my own home. However, I don't think I can really justify buying those physical game carts if they're gonna cost more and look like my last lobotomy. Why the fuck is everything so ugly? The console itself is very sleek. I love the way it looks with the colors being accents and the whole console being black, but what is that logo? It reads as 2 Nintendo Switch. Why wouldn't you just crop it off at just the logo and 2? This animation also looks janky as hell. The original was simple and sleek, conveying the simplicity of the Switch. This looks like an animation that's more over-engineered than my voice-activated door. Door open! Why is there no smoothing on it? Why is there so much movement? I'm sure there's a way to make it so much simpler and nice looking. In fact, here's my rendition of the Switch 2 animation. I feel it's more straight to the point and simpler, but it still doesn't fix the ugly logo. Why is this logo in full text and all just slapped on the grip? Just put the Joy-Con image in too. It's like they had to put the whole thing in case you forgot this thing was indeed a Nintendo Switch. And if the point was to keep the logo in a square format, why did you put this ugly ass horizontal banner at the top of the game cases? What are we trying to mimic Xbox? Because at least they made it thin enough to not ruin the feng shui of the art. Here's Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch. And here it is on Switch 2. Tell me, which one doesn't make you want to remove your eyeballs? It feels so weird that the original Switch's box art holds up so much more. You really feel the attention to the game's artwork, giving it the most space to let it breathe and stick out while still clarifying that it's on the Switch in a non-destructive way. Manufacturing something perfect for all audiences. And then you got Switch 2 looking like they didn't even try. Graphic design is my passion! Look, Ma, it's you! But ugly box art hurts even more when you realize that the prices are going to be just as ugly. We live in a shit economy, and with that comes shit prices. $80 for a single game. Well, there goes my 4th kidney. If you think that's bad, how about $70 for a standard game? You see, a normal person would see that and go, what the f***, but I'm not normal. I've placed a bomb somewhere in the world, and with the push of this button, something might happen, but the button only gets pressed if the prices stay high. This is absolutely absurd. $70 per game was already controversial enough. Bumping it up to a whole $20 is really bold, especially for a game that is f***ing Mario Kart. Listen, I love Mario Kart. I love how Mario Kart World looks. I'm gonna buy it with the bundled console because Nintendo is my daddy and I'm their little bitch. But gun to my head, I'm not paying $80 for a single game. Yeah, that's right. I'm so cheap I'll die instead of spending money. Fuck you. It's a greater insult when the said bundle gives you the same game for $50. Granted, it's not a physical version, but it's still cheaper than the digital version at 80 single dollar bills. There doesn't feel like a practical reason for this price increase. They just had a huge success with the Switch, so it feels like they're just doing it because Nintendo is my daddy and I'm their little bitch. No wonder why no prices were revealed during this direct, because there'd be actual riots in the streets. It feels like they're just trying to squeeze pennies out of the consumer. Take Switch 2 Welcome Tour. No, seriously, take it. This would be a perfect pack-in title to give people the most information about their new console. You have to pay for it. At least 1-2 Switch was a game. It was nowhere near being $60 of fun. That shit collected dust the second I put it down. This is not that. You would show this to shareholders to invest in your product and not sell it as a game to your player base. And this is not an unpopular opinion. I see people all over the internet talking about how the Nintendo Switch 2 does seem reasonably priced as a console, but the games, on the other hand, are nowhere near as fair. This is coming from a person who thought Tears of the Kingdom was justified at a $70 price point just because of the amount of sheer content that's in that game. But I cannot justify Mario Party being $80, as if this is more worth your time than this. Not to mention all the other accessories you can buy for the console. I'll admit, that camera is as cool as my dad. I thought this thing was going to be over $100, so seeing it at $50, pretty affordable for a webcam. However, if you buy the Switch 2, a pair of Joy-Cons, the Pro Controller, the grip, the wrist straps, camera, and case, you're looking about $800 on day one launch, and that doesn't even include the games. If you want to, let's say, buy 2 games, you're looking at well over $900. That's more than a Pixel 9 Pro, or a startup gaming PC, or a used car I found on Facebook Marketplace. It makes no sense considering most of the Switch 2's lineup at launch are just previously released games with glorified DLC. I'm amazed that this console comes out in 2 months, and all we got shown from it were a lot of games coming out later in its life and a lot of third-party titles. Don't get me wrong, an exclusive From Software game is insane and something that Nintendo actually needs for this console generation. Not to mention Elden Ring, Cyberpunk, FF7, Hades 2, Project 007, Street Fighter 6 getting amiibos, Borderlands, Yakuza, Split Fiction. Have I made my point that there are a ton of games coming out for this thing? I'm just wondering where a lot of the heavy hitter first-party titles are. It's been nearly 8 years. People are fiending for a new 3D Mario game. So here's Donkey Kong and No Man's Sky. Please don't see me asking for other content as a means of saying that what was shown was bad. I liked what was announced, like Kirby Air Riders and Hyrule Warriors and Drag X Drive, even though the gameplay looked really slow. But these just aren't yet justifications to buy the console. I know there are going to be more heavy hitters down the road, but I wanted to see that in hopes that buying the console day one wouldn't make me feel crazy. You think setting up the bomb would do that, but no, it's the lack of first-party titles. The first Switch before release showed us a new 3D Mario, the anticipated Zelda game, ARMS, which was a new IP, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, fucking Xenoblade Chronicles. Apparently people actually liked that game. There was more from Nintendo that made the purchase of a Switch before it released a no-brainer. While not all these titles released at launch, you had the security in the fact that great games from Nintendo were still coming. Here with Switch 2, I feel a bit lost. I don't know what's coming for the console. And what if I really don't like it? I always said that Switch 2 was a day one purchase for me, and I had the confidence in not regretting that. After this direct, I feel like that's not entirely the case. I like the ideas of the games being shown. I'm not fully confident they will be really for me. There are things that I am really excited about. The insane performance in handheld mode, the 4K output from the dock, the mouse controls from Metroid Prime 4, GameCube being on Nintendo Switch Online, the camera's pretty cool, the fucking Discord feature that they have that I know my normie friends will use because they hate Discord, and not to mention probably my favorite feature of all, Game Share. This is exactly exactly what Nintendo DS Download Play was when I was a child. It's what gave me access to a lot of my favorite games. All these things make for a great device, but what makes a great console are the games that come out for it, and for some reason, I'm having this feeling that gaming as a whole is headed towards a place that is becoming unfavorable for the consumer. The phasing out of physical media, the overcharge for newer games, the fact that newer consoles generally get lack of support. I mean, it's something that Sony was doing, and it was pretty annoying when they were doing it, but the fact that Nintendo's doing it makes me feel like it's a trend within the gaming industry and it's here to stay. And whereas the Nintendo Switch 1 made gaming fun again, I feel like the Nintendo Switch 2 has a chance to make gaming feel dull once more. I hope that after the Switch 2 releases, we do get more news, directs, games even, and I do think that that is going to happen. I am still going to buy the console day one because I have faith that there's going to be that one game that I just have to play, and I'll miss out if I don't. If Switch 2 is anything like the first Switch, then we'll be getting a constant output of news and announcements and games, and it will be glorious and we'll have something to look forward to. But if not, then what is given to us must be fantastic. Otherwise, I don't think they would do it like that. I cannot wait for future updates where we really get to see what Nintendo has hiding up their sleeve, but only time gets to tell us that. And until then, all we can do is the Amiibo get a price increase! Fuck it, I'm blowing up the bomb. Psych, there's more information that came out! So pre-orders for the US have been delayed due to the tariffs that have been placed on Vietnam. What this delay means is either they're probably going to negotiate to see if they can get lower tariffs, or they're going to have to raise the price, which I know nobody wants. Now, tariffs have since been paused, however, it's still unclear on when pre-orders are going live. Nintendo Switch Online members have been notified that they could pre-order on May 8th, but it's unclear if that's for all retails or just for Nintendo Switch Online members. Speaking of prices, physical games do not cost more than digital games. Someone just said that fact after looking at a euro instead of $1 and just went with it. There's a lot of discourse going around the Switch 2 right now and a lot of misinformation being spread. Because before we thought the tariffs were affecting the prices when they really weren't. Nintendo was just putting out these price points. And again, while I think the console is fairly priced, the games being so much money makes no sense. It's more a case of greed rather than a necessity. But seeing all this misinformation going out there and it constantly being updated and changed and rediscovered or whatever, it's really concerning on what happens when this console actually comes out. I feel like the internet just in general has a discourse of seeing one negative thing about a really popular thing and just going with it, rushing in to get that headline, to get that news article, to get that thumbnail, to get that video. I'm guilty of this with this video right here. There was so much in this video that I had to remove because of the misinformation, and the fact that I even did that without even digging more into it is kind of concerning. I'm not trying to turn this into a philosophy type thing, but it is true that I feel like we're heading in a bad direction in general, and the spread of misinformation is only proof of it. But I want to bring this discussion to you. What do you think about all of this? What do you think of the Nintendo Switch 2? What do you think about people's reactions to it? What do you think about the handling of information throughout all of this? Please leave a comment below, and please inform me if I got anything during this video wrong. I'm trying to put the segment at the end to hold me accountable and to make sure the information is right in the video itself, but there's always a chance that I mess something up. But until then, let's try this one more time. Oh, that was the wrong button.